reasons, but
Yeah,
it'd be good to get your thoughts about whether you're concerned and stuff. So like straight away at the back, I see you've got Van Dijk and not
yeah,
Robertson or Trent Alexander-Arnold.
yeah.
Is that a worry?
Big time. Yeah, I did have a draft with Robertson in. I doubt I can stretch to Alexander Arnold if I want to afford all the big hitters further forward. But yeah, as you alluded to there, my team values what's hurting me at the moment. Obviously, there's the hack early in the season, but it's partly my fault as well for waiting so long into the week to make transfers, which is my approach to wait for press conferences and things like that before making my move. And obviously, that costs you valuable money at the end of the season. So I can't afford a lot of the big heavy hitters, at least not all of them together, that I've seen in some other free hit squads. So it's about compromises. Now, I could probably free up point 0.5 to get Robertson, I think. There's other areas of the team I can downgrade or make cheaper alternatives. But yeah, I think for 38, I'm less concerned about people starting than I was, say, I'm a wild card, which is why I went for Van Dijk a couple of weeks after the resumption. Because I thought Alexander Arnold would get a benching, and he did. Not that it really mattered at the end of the day because Liverpool lost a clean sheet anyway, but I knew Van Dijk would be nailed at the back. He's never been benched in, I think, 2 seasons. So that's why I had him in my team up until this point. For 38, I'd love one of the fullbacks because I think Newcastle are. It's not so much on the beach; we're sort of in the hospital, really, because we've got so many injuries, especially at centre half. You'll see one of the youngsters there in my draft team at the minute. He's purely bench fodder, but he might even get a game in 38, possibly even in 37, because we've got 5 of our 6 centre halves out for one reason or another. And when you really got Fernandez left of the senior option, so he could be an emergency playing option. Not that I'd want to play him in 38, but yeah, ideally, if I can rejig the forward options, then it would definitely be one of Robertson or Alexander Arnold over Van Dijk. You just get the feeling Alexander Arnold is due a big score because he's kind of struggled ever since they won the league for returns at either end of the pitch. And I just think Newcastle they won't offer much at either end of the pitch in this fixture. And I think it's one of the arguably fixtures that's been overlooked slightly. I mean, I know people are still interested in Liverpool assets, but I think there's been a lot more talk about Man City home to Norwich, for example. And I do think Liverpool away at Newcastle is actually a better fixture than it would have been about 2 months ago.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've like without going into my team too much, I'm strongly considering bringing in a Liverpool attacker for that, and I already have Trent because I agree. I think everyone's going to be drawn to that Man City fixture for very good reasons. It's Norwich at home, and Man
Yeah,
City are obviously a really good team, but I do think that Newcastle fixture might get overlooked a little bit. Interestingly, since I think you're right about Trent, it would seem unlikely for him to just not do anything now before the end of the season. But Robertson has been very good
yeah.
since the restart. So obviously you're gambling that he can do better than Trent, but I think that might not be the worst gamble for just a 1 week. I guess punt essentially if you got a free hit. So yeah, Van Dijk not a bad option of course, but yeah, if you can stretch to Robertson or Trent, much better. Are you just really quickly, I suppose, because you've already touched on it? Are you worried about? Obviously, you've got very cheap bench options who may or may not play. Are you worried about that, or
Yeah.
is it just a case you're gonna if one of your 11 doesn't play at all, that's just extremely unlucky this week, especially with 5 subs.
Well, one of the emergency options might even start. So that's Williams, who dropped to 3.8 million last night. We're recording this on Monday morning, by the way. So this was Sunday evening. He's dropped to 3.8, which means he's the cheapest player in the game. And he might even start. It depends how short he is. I've not heard much from Solskjaer since the FA Cup semi, but he wasn't fit for that. And Williams started. So we'll see how that pans out over the next week. So I'll be very happy to have him as a first sub to come on for one of the back three. But my hope is, I don't know how feasible this will be, but if we do get any kind of indication of early team news, then I won't even need much of a bench. It's always handy to have one or two playing subs just in case. Someone could pull out in a line in their warm up, for example, but I don't need a full bench. I don't need 3 playing substitutes in a free hit 38 squad. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a concern. But this is the area to make a sacrifice in, I think. I don't see that many clean sheets around, and where there are clean sheets, I'd probably want the attacking assets instead. So Man City v Norwich, for example, you think is an absolute stone cold certainty for a shutout. But would I want Mendy or Laporte over a triple up further forward? I mean, I might as one option. Yeah, one of the clean sheet opportunities looks like Burnley at home to Brighton, and luckily they're blessed with a lot of cheap options in their defence, and they're pretty easy to predict in terms of a starting 11 because they haven't got any other players fit or still in contact with the club. So, yeah, the likes of Barnsley and Peters, who I think have both risen in price into the weekend. I mean, they're both under 4.5 million, and I might start both of them. And as Peters proved, he can chip in with an attacking return as well. I'm not expecting much other than clean sheets, but I don't think I'll be alone in considering a double up or even more on Burnley's defence in the final week, purely because of how cheap they are, and of course they've got the track record of keeping clean sheets and are going for this clean sheet record with Nick Pope as well, as we've heard from a number of their squad. So defence looks ropey on paper, but as we'll discuss in a second, I need to free up the cash